One of the interesting requests I get for these videos is, can you make the videos in a different location? You're always in this same spot, so it kind of looks like I never move. But I like this spot. I've got a plethora of books here, and so I like referencing books. And in today's episode, I've got 3 books I'm going to reference, of which one I guarantee you have never read. Okay, so what book is that? We'll find out shortly. First, let's talk about Sean Esparza. Sean's a new owner up in Seattle. Started in Elijah Medge's office a few years back on the Amazon campaign. He's doing a great job up in Seattle. As I'm getting to know Sean, I'm like, hey, Sean, your last name, it's unique. He says, well, in Spanish, it's pronounced Esparza. And he says in his last year of high school, it was a week-long class project to figure out, family lineage. And so as he does his research, he goes to find out that his last name really means of Sparta. So his name is Sean of Sparta. He's a Spartan. And so he says in his, going into college, his last year of high school, going into college, gave him tons of confidence and determination to be a Spartan and go on and do great things. So not a big surprise that you powered through the field, became an owner. And so Sean, it's a pleasure getting to know you. And you asked a great question on really training your recruiter. How do I really help my recruiter to get better at the business? And so lots of thoughts there, but really when it comes to training anybody at any level, okay, so training a recruiter, training a new person, an entry level in the field, training a leader on how to develop a team, training an assistant manager, a new owner, really at every level, I can't help but think of influence. Really your job, your goal is to positively influence that person, to equip them and give them the skills. So the first book I want to reference when I think influence is classic, and this is not the book I guarantee you haven't read, The Laws of Leadership, John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And law number 2 says, it's the law of influence, the true measure of leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So you want to influence, you want to positively influence the person. Now, let's go to book reference number 2, How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? Remember first time I was recommended that book, I'm like, what are you saying? I don't have any friends? I got plenty of friends. I don't need to read a book on how to make friends. No, think about it. There's a reason that book was the second most popular book ever written. The only book that's ever been written more is the Bible. This book is number 2. I mean, how do you make friends? How do you win people over? And then how do you influence them? So just a couple highlights out of that book. Show respect for other person's opinions. Never say you're wrong. Right? I'm thinking, man, today's politicians may want to get a little brush up on that. And so here's the third book reference that I guarantee you haven't read. I think a lot of politicians have subscribed to this, How to Lose Friends and Alienate People. Believe it or not, this book exists. So if you kind of want the funny version of how to win friends and influence people, How to Lose Friends and Alienate Them, great read. You might want to check it out. But if you're really going to influence, if that's the name of the game, okay, so how do you influence? And think about it in today's world, right? In 2023, there's lots of ways we're communicating. We're communicating through email, through text, through phone calls, Zoom, face-to-face. Those are just 5 categories I came up with. And so I said, hey, Sean, if let's say there's $1 million commission deal on the line. Let's just say, hey, I've got an appointment with so-and-so, and if I close this deal, it's worth $1 million to me, okay? If that existed, how would you approach that? Would you fire off an email and just call it quits after that? Probably not. Don't let me just shoot a text. You're probably not going to close through text. I mean, you would obviously put your nicest suit on, you'd be clean shaven, you'd put on your best cologne, you'd smell awesome, you'd show up early, no doubt about it. I mean, you would do it all face to face. That is your highest probability of influence. Your highest probability of closing that deal is going to be face to face. And so a lot of times in today's world, we do so much training through some videos. I'm not against that stuff. I just keep thinking of just probabilities. What's my best chance? I'll do videos and I'll do all that other stuff, but I know my highest probability is always going to be face-to-face. So I want my recruiter in the office with me, even if we work separately in separate locations. Come on into the office and I want you to watch me. Okay, I want you to spend a couple, 3-4 hours watching me. Now, even though my main function of what I do, I'm not a recruiter, I'm not a headhunter, dialing for dollars all day long, but if my recruiter watches me, there's a couple big benefits that are going to happen and a couple ways I can really influence somebody just by watching me. Number one, and this may sound counterintuitive, I'm going to fumble, okay? I'm going to screw up. I can take a new person in the field. Hey, listen, watch me, Junior. Watch me get out in the field. There's nothing better than that new person watching me fall right on my face. It builds their confidence knowing that, listen, screwing up is okay. So I guess I'm not expected to be perfect. So there's big benefit, believe it or not, in really falling on your face. Screwing up that phone call, fumbling your words. Like if your pitch isn't perfect, that's, believe it or not, a great example because again, you're encouraging them to also fall on their face. It's okay, you're human, dust yourself off, get back up again and let's do it again. So there's value in that. And there's value in showing the individual the grind. So again, I might be a little rusty, I might not be as competent as I'd like to be, but if the person's watching me grind, okay, phone call after phone call after phone call, or a rep in the field just watching me, pitch after pitch after pitch, the influence that could happen is like, maybe I need to step up my intensity a little bit. Like, look how hard he's trying. No wonder he's in the position that he's in. It's the effort, it's the intensity. So there's value in that, and that just rubs off on people. So that's really what I want to do. In the world of influence, again, I've got 5 different ways I could influence. I could influence with an email, text, phone call, Zoom, face-to-face. Let's do this face-to-face as much as possible. Highest chance to influence. And again, just be that model. Don't be afraid to fall on your face and obviously show the intensity that will rub off. Eventually, with enough practice, our people are going to get good at what it is that they're doing. Right? I've got a batting machine in my backyard for my son, and so I've been thinking, okay, do I tell him how to stand? Do I tell him really how to swing that bat? It's like, after he does it enough times, life is very self-correcting. You'll figure it out through repetitions, right? So repetition is really the motor of learning. They will figure it out. Just the starting point is rub some of your habits off on them and let them see that you're human. So that's what I have for you today, Sean. I hope you enjoyed.